Hey everybody, this is Darren here with sort of a new format. I want to try this out. If you watched last week's video, I want to try to start doing like a weekly live thing that sort of maybe turns into a podcast where we have guests and interviews, but the ball kind of has to get rolling on that, and in order to get it started, what I want to do is sort of do like a live format where I basically just do an unedited show. I want to talk about several things. I want to give you some good movie recommendations. What I'm going to do today is give you my picks of the week, and that's going to be just a couple of picks from all the major streaming services, what's coming out for rental, Blu-ray, and what's coming out in the theater this week. We're going to talk about a specific topic that I have prepared, and in the middle I may just riff a little bit, talk about some news, some things that are going on, and then what I will likely do this week, and this is an experiment just to see how you like it, is I'll take the picks of the week, I'll edit those out, cut them down to a nice short 10 minutes or less video. That way, if you don't have time to watch this long format show, you can pick that up, you can watch that, you can get some good recommendations. On Tuesday, Wednesday's show will always be either like my Netflix or other streaming service, like top 10 of a specific genre. I've got a good one prepped for Wednesday, so that's not changing. I'm always going to do that, and should stick to Wednesday. If I change the date on that, I'll let you know. And then on Thursday, I want to put out another clip, basically my favorite segment from this live show that, if it continues, will one day be live for real. And then Friday, I've always wanted to do something kind of different. On that note, I've started reaching out to some studios just to see what the possibilities are for screening things early. Like, I know they have screenings set up, and the channel's big enough now, I can probably get invites to some screenings. What I don't want to do is I don't want to turn into a review channel. Now, I know a lot of you look at me as one already, but you'll notice it's very rare I talk about a movie I don't like. It might slip in there or whatever, but review channels tend to talk about everything, and I tend to only talk about stuff that I want you to watch. Stuff I recommend, why I recommend it. That's pretty much it. Now, sometimes I maybe gush about some of my favorite movies. Those videos rarely get watched as much, and I just do them because I really like them. Some of them tend to catch, so I'll keep kind of doing those whenever I feel like them. But those may become part of this live show. But point is, I'm not really reviewing movies. I'm recommending them because I'm only giving you the ones that I think you should watch. So with that, I'm not going to watch everything. I'm not going to talk about everything that comes out, but I do like the idea of kind of like the best one of the week. Maybe I'll watch a couple that are new releases before their Friday release date, and I tell you, hey, this Friday, this is the one you got to go see. If you like that idea, let me know. I'm going to tell you to let me know a lot of things in the comments below on this one. If you're watching on YouTube, just because I'm trying to get feedback. You guys have been great on that so far, and you're really kind of shaping the way this channel is going, and it's growing very, very quickly as a result. So big thanks to all of you there. But let me just jump right into my picks of the week. We'll talk a little bit more about why there's suddenly doors closed behind me, and then we're going to talk about how Quentin Tarantino dramatically changed my life, and it's not what you think, so stick around for that too. Now, see, I'm almost forgetting I'm like in a live format. I'm not going to cut this one up. So on Netflix this week, I recommend a couple of things that have been recently added, and that is Hellboy 2, The Golden Army. I really liked that one when it came out. I'm a big fan of Guillermo del Toro. It kind of gets forgotten about a little bit, but it's super epic. It's got some incredible sequences in it. Is it as good as the first Hellboy? Not really, but it's still really good. As far as like just an epic, all-out, good, big-budget movie, Hellboy's one of the best ones. Hellboy 2 is one of the best ones currently on Netflix. And another one is The Bourne Ultimatum. I was not a huge fan of that franchise, and not for any particular reason. Like, I'm not hating on it at all. I don't know, it just didn't stick with me as much, but I really did like The Bourne Ultimatum. I thought it was really well done. The action sequences were great. The director, Paul Greengrass, I felt like that was when he was really hitting his stride, and then he went on to do, Captain Phillips. He's done a lot of really good movies, and he really, people complain about that shaky cam thing that he does, but he does a very, very good job with it. There are multiple videos on YouTube where you can kind of watch how film students pick apart like how beautifully edited some of those fight sequences are. They're not just a mess like those types of sequences usually are in movies where they're just, you can't tell what's going on, you just know people are getting hit. They're really expertly crafted, and even though the camera's shaking, it adds to the chaos, but you're getting information in every single cut. They're really, really sharp. So go back and watch that one. I know I'll be watching it. And then let's see what else we got. We got Amazon. I like to recommend stuff on Amazon. The Florida Project, starring Willem Dafoe, was one of the better movies of 2017. It's currently available. The cool thing about Amazon Prime, I've talked about this before, is unlike Netflix, where Netflix is producing movies and or purchasing movies from studios. By the way, when Netflix does that, they tend to purchase movies that the studios no longer want, and they get them on the cheap, which is why you have the perception that a lot of Netflix originals are not good, and they're not. And that's why Amazon, on the other hand, is producing really nice, beautiful art films. They've been nominated for Academy Awards. Moonlight was an Amazon project, and they're releasing them in theaters. They're winning awards. They have a little Blu-ray run, a little rental run, and then about 2 months after they drop on Blu-ray, maybe 3, they're available to Prime members. So the Florida Project is one of those, and I've recommended this one on the channel before, but I really can't recommend it enough, and that's Manhunter, directed by Michael Mann. I'll be brief since I've kind of labored over this one. I just need there's other stuff, but I just want to make sure if you didn't get my Manhunter recommendation, Michael Mann directed a movie based on the book, in the first book in the series that involves Hannibal Lecter. Now, Hannibal Lecter is in this movie, played by Brian Cox. It's a very small it's a very small role. Later on, they remade this story and called it Red Dragon, which I believe is the title of the book. And it had Edward Norton in it. Anthony Hopkins was Hannibal Lecter. He had more of a role, so it's different. This one's cool. It's got that cool 80s Michael Mann vibe. It's really chilling. Like the aftermath of the murders is really, really, it's very visceral. So I highly recommend checking that one out. On Hulu, there's one I watched recently. It's called Dave Made a Maze. Now, you might have seen the previews, you might not have. I recommend hunting this one down if you like quirky little indie movies. That's not usually the type of stuff that I'm recommending on this channel, but this one was fun. Go into it with very low expectations, and you're going to enjoy it. But it's basically about a guy that builds a maze in his living room out of cardboard, but if you watch the trailer, it just looks like a box. It looks like a box with pipes and stuff coming out of it, like just a cardboard box. But when you go inside, it's huge, full of rooms, and some friends come in to look for him, and they all get lost. Sounds crazy, and it is. And it's fairly squeaky clean. There's a little bit of adult humor, but teens can watch it. It's funny, fairly light. They are in danger. It's got a little bit of a kind of Indiana Jones vibe in terms of like some of the references, but it's super low budget fun. I really liked it. What else I got on Hulu? Oh, Warrior just got added. Now, Warrior to me is one of the better sports movies to have come out in the past decade, and it's really been overlooked because a lot of people it's like an MMA movie. You do not have to have interest in MMA to like this movie. And that is the case with most, if not all, of the best sports films. Like Moneyball is a great sports-related movie. You don't have to have any interest in baseball to enjoy that movie. You don't have to have any interest in MMA to enjoy Warrior. But Tom Hardy really just turned into a monster for this movie. Joel Edgerton's in it. They're brothers. It's based on a true story. They end up having to fight in the ring. It's really fantastic. It's really well done, so I highly recommend watching that or rewatching it because I'm sure a lot of you have seen it. And I'm used to cuts, so that's why you hear me breathing in more. You're going to see me kind of drinking water, which you never see. I always cut that stuff out, but I think if I keep this up, I'll get a little used to it and used to kind of like wetting my palate without constantly having to drink on the microphone. HBO. The Lego Ninja movie just dropped. It just released. One of the best ones you can watch for family. Just like the other Lego movies. It's funny for adults. entertaining for kids. Is it as good as Lego Batman? No, but it is one of the better recent releases on HBO. And then for an oldie but a goodie that they just re-released on HBO, Dead Calm. This one is not for the kids. A lot of you have probably seen it, but if you somehow like missed Dead Calm, or maybe you're in your 20s and you sort of missed it, it's time to check it out. Super young Nicole Kidman. Billy Zane is a complete monster in this one. It's about a couple out on a sailboat. They pick up a stranded guy, and it is just a nightmare ensues. It's really, really good, really creepy. Make sure you're watching this one long after the kids go to bed, and there's no chance of them walking in on you, because this is a big boy movie. Rentals. So this week, I'm dropping this on Monday. On Tuesday, the only thing new out is 50 Shades. I'm not recommending 50 Shades, so I'm actually going to recommend one from last week, since this is my first show and I didn't do one of these last week. I'm going to recommend Den of Thieves. The reason I'm recommending this is because I had low to no expectations for this movie. It just looked like it almost looked like one of those little action movies that probably should have gone straight to streaming and didn't, that was just going to be kind of half-ass. It's not. Now, it didn't get good ratings, and I thought this when I got towards the end, that it's good enough that I read it in the reviews, there's been some comparisons to Michael Mann's Heat to bring him up again for the 50th time in the last couple of weeks. I promise it's like probably my last Michael Mann reference for a while. But they were referencing him in the review saying this isn't as good as Heat. Well, it deserves to be compared to Heat. Like, it's good enough to be compared to it. Now, it's not nearly as good, but that puts it way above any kind of straight-to-streaming movie. So I was pleasantly surprised by this. It's got some interesting twists. You'll see some of it coming, but it's solid. It's got some solid shootouts. It's got a solid heist story to it. It's a cool movie. I liked it a lot. I recommend that. That's my pick of the week for a rental if you're going to spend a few bucks. And then in the theater, this one's not going to get a super wide release, but it's another week day for theatrical releases, and I think that's because studios expected Infinity War to continue to dominate the box office, and they didn't want to put any of their like prize movies in there to compete just yet. But Revenge looks like a really cool movie. I didn't even realize Shudder is one of the sponsors of some of our videos, not this video, but they are behind it. So it looks grim, it looks crazy. It looks like it's about a group of guys that take one of their mistresses out to the desert to like hunt her for sport, and she like kind of flips it and comes back at them. It looks crazy. So if you're into some of the darker, more twisted stuff that I recommend on a regular basis, and you got to go to the theater to see a new release, that would be the one to see if it's out near you. So that is that. That is how I'm going to recommend picks. If you like that format, let me know in the comments below. But if you like this, it's just going to be in addition to the regular sort of top 10 lists that I do all the time. But I thought that was a nice way to go. It allowed me to maybe recommend some that didn't fit into genres well, which is what I'm normally doing. I recommended HBO. I recommended rentals, which I've never done either of those. So if you like those services and you want more recommendations from those, you can let me know that as well. Let's see what else we got. So like I said, I want to talk about how Quentin Tarantino changed my life. Get some water. Before that, The Doors. So that is the other side of this is going to be the new studio space. This is going to be a bedroom. I've said that on a previous video. You can watch that. I'll put a link in the description, but show the studio space. But we're setting up. There's stuff all over the floor back here, so I just got the door shut. But part of this will be backdrop. When I have guests and we're back wider from the bar, those doors will be a bigger part of the backdrop. So that's kind of a little preview of what's coming. We're working on it. By the end of May, I expect you're going to see me in slightly different surroundings, so that's really exciting. And you guys are making all of this possible. So last week, one of the reasons I'm even doing this format, which, this is getting me out of breath. Another reason this is getting me out of breath. I've just been chasing my toddler around in the street for hours. I'm wiped, and I'm sitting here Sunday night, still recording for a couple of reasons. One, the comments section, you guys are just fantastic, very supportive. You love what I'm doing, it seems, so I want to just do more, and I enjoy it. I enjoy coming up here. Because I interact with you in the comments, I do feel like I'm talking to and with you, so it's pleasurable. I enjoy it. I'm hungry. I gotta eat sometime soon, but a couple of things. I've not, part of the problem of doing this show and sitting here recording this now, I have less time to watch movies, and it's starting to become a problem. So I've got to figure out how to get around that. I've got access to plenty, but I've got to figure out how to start watching more. Den of Thieves I've watched, but I have not had time to watch much else. Oh, that is what I wanted to talk about, though. Yesterday and today I had to break it up, because my son's still very little. I watched, because of May the 4th, which I didn't post anything on Instagram for May the 4th just because it's just so saturated. I'm not feeling it on May 4th, but I was inspired to watch Star Wars. I watched it with my son, who's a toddler, but he gets stuff. Like, he's really smart and he gets stuff, and we're not going to watch all of the Star Wars movies because they do get intense. But A New Hope, with the exception of like the guy in the cantina's arm getting cut off, and I think there was one other time I like covered his eyes, like where he didn't know. Its spaceship's blowing up, So I was just like, oh no, they crashed. So I don't think it was too intense for him. But point being, he loved it. I read the scrolling titles to him. The ship in the beginning comes over the top of the screen. I took a picture that's in super low light, but he just was like, couldn't believe what he was seeing. And I cry so rarely that it's almost a problem in my marriage, that like I'm not sensitive enough. That said, I started to well up watching him, and the reason is because I'm sharing something with him at a very young age that I experienced at a very young age. Like, I loved those movies when I was a kid. I'm sharing them with him, and he's loving them, and that connects us in a very special way, where we're like connected. I'm going to get sentimental here, but like, we're connected across time in a way where we're both experiencing the same thing 25 years apart, a quarter century apart, and we're tapping into it and having this like cerebral experience that's very similar. So that, the movies is music too. Music, you can do that. Music and movies, though, and I guess just art, is really the only way you can do that. So that was very special for me. I was very happy that he responded to it. We had to chop it up because of nap times, and we got a newborn in the house too, so we broke it up. But I can't wait to do that with him again. I got to think of some other movies that'd be great, that aren't necessarily kids movies, but that are okay for him. If you've got recommendations, you can let me know those in the comments below. But we're getting into the 20-minute mark. Ultimately, I think I'm going to go an hour. I don't know why. That just seems like an appropriate amount of time. But what I want to do, I've got some notes here, so bear with me. I want to talk about how Quentin Tarantino changed my life. So, and like I said, it is not what you think. It's going to go in a different direction. It's not like he inspired me to be a filmmaker or anything like that. So in high school, I discovered Pulp Fiction in the video store. I say discovered, I'd always heard about it, and I'll preface this by saying, this is probably a topic for another video. My parents, they weren't super strict, but they were maybe more strict than most, particularly when it came to sensitive content. So like, I didn't really get to watch many, if any, rated R movies until I was like well into my teens. So I was old enough to rent Pulp Fiction the first time I saw it, and like everybody had seen it already. So maybe that's why I identified with it more. I shouldn't say identified with it. Maybe that's why I tapped into it more, because I was more mature when I finally saw it. But I loved it. Again, VHS, it was not available on DVD at the time. It would have been soon, but I'm going to get to that. But the lines, Samuel L. Jackson, when he drains that cup of Sprite, is still one of my favorite movie moments. And I rewatched it like 3 times before I had to take it back. I made my younger sister watch part of it just because I loved it so much. I had friends come over weeks later. I was like, oh, we got to rent this movie. I made them watch it. They didn't get it. I don't think I'm friends with most of them anymore, which happens as you get older. But anyway, loved the movie. And then, that was it. It didn't change my life. Maybe a year later, all of his films that had been out at that time were released on DVD. So I bought all of them, including Reservoir Dogs, which I had not yet seen because I was in a small town that had one video store and they didn't have Reservoir Dogs. In fact, I don't think they had any of his other movies. But I bought it. I've never liked Reservoir Dogs as much. I just don't tap into it. Now, I really do like the movie, but it's not one of my favorites of his. It's somewhere in the middle for me. So that didn't change my life. And then, my first year in college, Kill Bill Volume 1 came out. I went with 2 of my best friends at the time. I'm still close with them. We went. It was a crowded theater, opening weekend. And it's still, to this day, one of the best theatrical experiences I've ever had. And I had only seen trailers. The internet wasn't just force-feeding you trailers nonstop like it is today. I saw like half a trailer on a TV spot, and I just knew I liked Quentin Tarantino. I was like, oh, we got to go. We're going. Let's do it. So I didn't have many expectations for it. Blew me away. Everyone in the audience was a fan. The audience is just screaming and laughing. It was so much fun. My girlfriend at the time started calling, because it's almost a 3-hour movie. It started. We had to wait in line, the whole thing. She starts calling. And I had it wasn't even a flip phone. It was a little button with a little phone with the buttons you had to mash and a little antenna that came up. And I will not answer my phone in the movie theater. And if you answer your phone in the movie theater, you need to fuck right off. Don't do that. Just don't do it. So I'm not doing it, but I'm barely peeking. I don't even want the light coming out of my pocket. I'm like, God, she's calling again. And I guess I could have turned my phone off. But I had the brilliant idea. Let me hit the answer button. She'll hear we're still in the movie. She knew we were going to a movie. She'll hear we're in the movie and go, oh, okay. I'll call him back at a reasonable time. Well, we get out of the movie. I've got a bunch of texts. She's freaking out. She thinks I'm at a party, and we were not together for very long after this, mind you. But she thinks I'm at a party, and not only am I at a party, but I'm answering the phone, and everyone's just laughing, and I'm hanging up on her. She developed that in her head, so we broke up. Technically, that changed my life, but we would have broke up anyway. So Kill Bill didn't change my life. Sorry, I have a lot of notes on this. If you're listening in a podcast, I'm referencing my notes. I'm sorry for the dead air. Okay, here we go. So then halfway through college, I think with Netflix discs, or I might have even been renting from Blockbuster with the mail-in stuff instead of Netflix at the time. I saw a movie of like Robert Rodriguez. I was really into him too. I'm looking for something that he's done that I haven't seen, and I come across this movie, 4 Rooms. I'd never seen it anywhere. It's never on the shelves in Blockbuster when you used to go in. I just was never exposed to this movie. But it's an anthology movie with 4 stories. Rodriguez directed the 3rd story. Tarantino directed the 4th. Tim Roth stars as a bellhop. He's in this old school hotel on New Year's Eve and has to visit 4 different rooms over the course of the evening and has 4 crazy stories in each of the 4 rooms. That's what the movie is. I rented it. I loved it. Now, I didn't love it as much as Pulp Fiction or anything, but it's just one of those like hidden gems. You're like, how did I not know about this movie? How am I only just now discovering this? And it's one of those little things you want to share with people. You want to show people. You want to say, hey, look at this. And and they only get better. Like the first of the four is okay. The second one's pretty good. The Rodriguez one is great. And then the Tarantino one has this really long take. Bruce Willis is in it, and he's freaking out. It is wild. So I highly recommend that movie if you've never seen it. Hopefully by now it's caught on, and a lot of you have. But at the time, nobody I knew had seen this movie. So let me see where I wanted to go with this. Okay, so we're going to get off the movies for a second. I'm going to circle back. So in 2005, 2006, let's say this is 2006. This is 2006. Facebook was still only, you had to be in college to be on Facebook. You had to have a college, you had to have a school email address, a valid one, and MySpace was popular. People were on both. And in MySpace, you just sort of like messaged people. It was a little bit less like, oh, these are people I know that are vetted and my friends. You just sort of message people. And this is way before Tinder. Some of you know where this is going. Some people use it to troll for chicks. I never really did that. But at one point, I'm just kind of flipping through. There's people with similar interests, stuff like that. I can't remember how it all filtered out. But at one point, I come across this just great-looking girl. The picture caught my eye first. Her name was a little exotic. That caught my eye. And then right up at the top, for some reason, had like movies. And you just have like a couple of your top movies listed out, and 4 Rooms was one of her movies. And then, because it was just a crappy photo, I'm like, I've seen her. So I went to art school. I studied graphic design. That's what I have a degree in. And I had seen this girl around campus just a little bit. Never had any interactions, never at parties or anything. And she stood out to me, 1, because she was beautiful. 2, because she was really, really tall. I would later find out she's 6'2", so she's the same height as me. So she stands out. So I've seen her. But immediately crushing on this chick that I don't know. I don't know anybody that knows her. I don't know anything about her other than she's gorgeous, she's tall, she's in the art program to some degree, and she likes 4 Rooms. So I message her. Shot in the dark, see what happens, don't expect anything, get a message back. We get instant messaging going, a little bit of flirting, a little bit of charming, not a lot, not a long drawn out thing, maybe twice, maybe for an hour once. I can't really remember, but I got a phone number. Super excited, couldn't wait, telling my roommate, he knows who she is. He doesn't know her that well, so that's not a connection. Anyway, I'd never call the number. And I'm out with a buddy. Alright, so we just had a kind of a hiccup. I'm going to have one edit. I had never shot this long with this camera, and it just shut off on me, so I'm going to just pick this back up. But I'm out with a buddy, and we're at the bar, and who do I see? She's at the end of the bar. I'm figuring out, what am I going to say? I'm going to go over. I'm definitely going to go talk to her. Before I can even do that, a mutual friend of ours comes by, randomly introduces us. We recognize each other. I have seen her every single day since that day, with the exception of traveling for business. We got married. We have 2 beautiful children. I don't know that I ever would have approached her if it wasn't for that little movie with Quentin Tarantino called 4 Rooms. So that is how Quentin Tarantino has changed my life. I've got a special connection with movies. I just always have. I'd almost rather watch a movie than do almost anything else. I get a lot out of them. And, you know, there's those milestone ones in your life that you remember, and this little movie just has kind of a special place for me because of that. So I hope you appreciate that story. I've wanted to share it for a while. You know, if you like that type of content, if you like me sort of sharing things like that, let me know in the comments below, because I will do more of them. It's fun to kind of get stuff like this out. Like I said, I've been wanting to do that for a while. So, a couple of things. If you want to support the show, you can do it on Patreon. I've got a couple of supporters right now. I've said on this channel before, I'm not going to push Patreon hard because I'm not giving you anything in return right now. Eventually, I'll have bonus content of some sort, like there will be an incentive to become a patron. Right now, if you're getting value out of this channel, specifically like with the heavy movie recommendations I'm doing, and you want to support the channel, I've got 3 patrons. 2 of them are doing $1 a month. That's fantastic. I'm thrilled with them. One thing I think I am going to do for my patrons is I'm going to ask questions from time to time, and when I want a honest response, I'm going to just field my patrons because I know that they're people that watch the channel the most. So I want to get their input on what they want to see, what types of things I should be doing. And this is live. You did just see me kind of burp into my mouth a little bit. That's one of the things I'm gonna have to figure out how to hide that. But you can do that. I am selling shirts. One thing you could do if you have an idea for a shirt design, share it in the comments. I'm still reading every single comment. I don't know how long I'll be able to keep that up because there are days where it takes me well over an hour to read all the comments, and some of you know I do respond to them. So, like I said, essentially what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put this up as if it's a live show. If that gets traction, I'm going to set up, get the technology. It's not expensive, but it does take some work, and I got to get my new setup going. Set up the technology, pick a good time and day of the week, every single week, where I can do this live. Then Tuesday, Thursday's episodes I put up are going to be excerpts from the show. I'm going to give you my 10 picks of the week, and I'm going to give you the Quentin Tarantino story, more edited, where I'm going to cut out the dead air. I'm going to put up some clips like I normally would. So those will be taken from this audio and turned into that. If you like this format, let me know how you're listening to it. Like, are you watching me the whole time? Are you playing it on YouTube? Putting earbuds in at work? Are you going to listen to it on a podcast? Would you listen to it on a podcast format? That's what I'm kind of trying to figure out right now. You guys are going to help me in these early stages. We're going to grow this thing. We're going to see about getting some guests. I'm putting out some feelers for some things there. What types of guests you want to see. One thing I'm wanting to do is not... One, I'm not going to have the cred to get like big name actors in here. And 2, I don't really want the big name actors for a couple of reasons. A big one is they don't share much. If you pay attention to talk shows, they share like a discussed anecdote from the movie that they're plugging. And the reason for that is they don't want to share, they don't want to pull the curtain back too much. They need to be liked by a wide audience. And if they share too much about their personal lives, they're going to lose half of their audience, particularly with today's climate. So you're not going to get anything of interest out of people like that. But out of production people that work on films in specific roles. I want to talk to filmmakers. I want to talk to maybe some of the actors that you see in everything, that you don't really know their name, but they've worked on a bunch of projects. Those people can talk. Those people are more accessible. So that's really what I'm thinking I'm going to do. I'm here in Atlanta. I'm in a position where it's the largest filming location in the country right now. Everything is filmed here. So I'm going to potentially have access to people like that. So that's ultimately where I want to go. We may still be a year out on that. That's going to be, kind of a long road, but that's where we're going. That's why you're, I want to give you more and more content. I'm enjoying the heck out of this. Rambling a little bit now, getting the feel for this. I think after a couple of these, I'm going to be kind of in the right mode for it. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you want to see. Thanks for watching this episode. If you don't like this, give it a thumbs down. If I get a bunch of thumbs down, I won't do this anymore. Won't waste your time. I'll come up with something else that you like better. I'll keep working on it. But thanks so much for all your support. I appreciate it. Love you. You will see me next time.